All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Acadia Center in our presentation of our new Community Energy Vision Action Guide. Let me introduce you to the three people in charge of the webinar today. I'm Ellen Hawes, Senior Policy Analyst and New Hampshire Lead. With me, I have Kathleen Meal, our main lead, part of the team that developed the Action Guide, and Krisha Wozni, our Communications Director, who will handle logistics. During the presentation, if anyone has any questions, please just type them into the Q&A box you see on the screen. We'll tackle questions about the action guide itself during the webinar. And if any of you have any more targeted policy questions, we will follow up and deal with those offline. So let's get started. Acadia Center is excited to share its latest piece of work, the Community Energy Action Guide. This action guide grew out of the series of work Acadia Center has been producing, beginning with our EnergyVision project, to showcase how the Northeast can shift to a clean, consumer-friendly energy system. We see that vision depicted here. You see rooftop solar and wind producing renewable energy, electric vehicles charging and zipping around town, energy storage located in efficient homes and businesses. All these are drawing on some market-ready technologies to produce the deep emissions reductions and maximize economic, environmental, and public health benefits. This slide comes from Acadia Center's Community Energy Vision report, which focused on the changes needed to advance strong, sustainable community energy systems. The Energy Vision series also includes Utility Vision, which provided additional detail for electricity sector reforms and opportunities needed at the utility levels. All told, this work together sets out the pathway for ambitious, achievable advances in four key areas: energy efficiency, renewable power, electrification of buildings and transportation, and grid modernization. These all allow communities to take control of their energy systems and to reform the way energy is planned and managed. So today we'll take about 30 minutes to walk through Acadia Center's latest report, the Community Energy Vision Action Guide. Kathleen will walk us through the action guide, including its context, its components, and potential uses for state and local action. Then we'll transition into a discussion of specific actions communities in New Hampshire and Vermont can take to advance clean energy. As Acadia Center's New Hampshire lead, I have obviously some ideas about that, but we're really interested in your experiences, insights, and questions. If you'd like to share those during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box. We'll tackle them and any other comments towards the end. Without further ado, let's get to it. Kathleen?
Energy Vision Action Guide and what Acadia Center's goals have been in developing the guide. So as we developed the Energy Vision series, it became increasingly clear that communities are really the place where the clean energy future happens. They can benefit from new energy technologies that offer unprecedented access to affordable, resilient local energy, behavior, and to establish new energy norms. Unfortunately, communities are also dependent on what state rules allow us to do, and those rules vary widely across the 7 Northeast states. At Acadia Center, we believe that communities deserve the freedom to act. So Acadia Center prepared the Community Energy Vision Action Guide to explore the changes that we need to allow communities to fully benefit and participate in a sustainable, low emissions energy system and to really achieve a modernized energy vision. Those changes are going to have to align community energy opportunities with state laws and rules, and to modernize the rules that are outdated, that are currently blocking community action. And those changes will all require community support. Acadia Center's Community Energy Vision Action Guide is designed to build that support by raising awareness of the existing opportunities and obstacles to community energy action. It's a user-friendly resource that's based on extensive research of the laws and regulations governing community energy in each of the Northeast states. And by identifying barriers, Acadia Center hopes that the action guide will inspire advocacy for the changes needed to expand community energy options. So what are those options and opportunities? Acadia Center identified 4 categories of actions that motivated people like you can take to shape community energy systems. They include how buildings use energy, how energy is generated, delivered, and purchased, how zoning and siting can shape clean energy developments, and finally, how residents, businesses, and municipalities pay for it all. The action guide includes a list of almost 40 clean energy actions where communities could theoretically have a high degree of control. And it tackles those actions in 3 interlinking sections. There's an overview of the 4 categories of action, a comparison of the availability of those actions across the Northeast states, and a deeper dive into the rules and regulations that govern those actions in each state. Together, these 3 sections will help you understand whether a given action is possible or limited or outright prohibited under current state rules. And it'll also give you the regional context and the state-specific considerations that you need to move forward. When the state rules allow communities the full freedom to act, you will have the complete set of tools you need to embrace a clean energy future. So how does it act? How does it work? The action guide uses simple color coding to give you a clear sense of the status and the next steps for each community action. So you begin by choosing an action and then ask a series of questions. Is the action covered under state policy? Has it been done before? Is it replicable? And is there a clear precedent? These answers will help you determine where each action stands under current state rules. There's a stoplight-like key which identifies each action as green, yellow, or red. So green is go, there are no structural barriers to action. Acadia Center identified actions as green when there was clear legislative authorization or a clear precedent. These are the steps that every community in a given state could take, but these actions haven't necessarily been adopted in every or even in any community. So the green actions are sort of a to-do list for motivated communities. Yellow indicates a lack of clarity in the state rules and regulations. Acadia Center identified actions as yellow when there were limitations or considerations that could hinder community progress, or when there was no clear precedent for that action. These are the steps that may be possible, but you really need to learn more. And communities may need to work for changes in state rules or laws. So the yellow actions are initially a research project. Red is a full stop. Acadia Center identified actions as red when they were clearly prohibited by state laws or rules. These are the steps that are not currently possible, but they're also the areas that are ripe for reform. So a red light could inspire communities to roll up their sleeves and engage in state level advocacy. So when you first look at the action guide, you're likely to be interested in the status of each action in your own state. But if you take a second to look at the broader context, there's some interesting aha moments. This matrix lays out which actions are possible, limited, and prohibited across the region and shows how states stack up. And what you'll see is that no state stands out as entirely permissive or restrictive, right? There's not a row of green or a column of green or a column of red. And the balance of green and red in each column is a little surprising at times. States that are widely acknowledged as lagging in the uptake of clean energy actions don't necessarily lack community energy opportunities. It may be that they're unaware of the options or that they're unsure how to take action toward their clean energy goals. You'll also notice a real mix of colors here. Fewer than a third of the actions Acadia Center researched and documented have the same status in all 7 states. And no action was prohibited across the board. So you don't see a row of reds anywhere in the matrix. The bottom line is that communities have a variety of options under current law and plenty of opportunities to expand those options with some state level advocacy. So before we dig into the actions that are permitted, limited, and prohibited in New Hampshire and Vermont, are there any clarifying questions about the structure of the action guide?
Kathleen, we haven't received any questions yet in the Q&A box, so I think
we
can keep moving.
Come back to those at the end as well, but let's take a look at some of the specifics in New Hampshire and Vermont. If we start with the clean energy, local generation, delivery, and purchasing category, you'll see that one possible action is to develop a municipal microgrid. And the regional matrix shows that this is permitted in New Hampshire and permitted in Vermont, but it's prohibited in Maine and it's limited in the other Northeast states. What does it actually mean to develop a municipal microgrid? The action guide shows that, or explains that Acadia Center asked whether municipalities can work with developers and stakeholders to create a microgrid to enable local clean energy generation, storage, and consumption, to add capacity and stability to the larger grid, and to operate independently at times. For communities in both New Hampshire and Vermont, the answer is yes. And the action guide lets New Hampshire communities know where the authority for this action stems from, and tells Vermont users that Rutland has already worked with Green Mountain Power to take this action. There's a clear path for other communities to pursue microgrids as well, and that's true for the other green light actions too. There's a little bit more of an uphill battle when it comes to the yellow light actions. If we stick with clean energy generation, delivery, and purchasing again, we'll see another option is to purchase utility-owned streetlights. Acadia Center asked whether municipalities can buy streetlights from the utility in order to facilitate upgrades like LED lights and other things that will save both energy and money. And the regional matrix shows that there's a clear yes in Maine, Massachusetts, New York, and Rhode Island, but that here in New Hampshire and Vermont, the answer is a little bit less clear. Now, municipalities in both states have taken this action and successfully purchased their streetlights. Efficiency Vermont even offers guidance for communities who are considering the action, but Acadia Center identified this as yellow because there is no legal requirement for utilities in either state to sell their streetlights. The yellow signal indicates that communities really need to learn more before attempting this action because there are no guarantees. There are, unfortunately, guarantees when we get to the red light action, and that is that you should expect pushback and be ready to engage in some advocacy. In the financial incentives category, you'll see two actions around PACE financing. Acadia Center asked whether state rules allow municipalities to enable property assessed clean energy, or PACE, for qualifying energy efficiency and clean energy improvements. If you're not familiar with PACE, it's a financing mechanism that allows property owners to secure loans with a lien on the property. And the rules are different for commercial and for residential properties. The rules are also different in different states. As you can see, communities in Vermont can legislatively authorize residential PACE. In fact, there are more than 40 municipalities who have active RPACE programs, but there's no mechanism to enable commercial pace. And in New Hampshire, the situation is reversed. C-PACE was authorized last year, but there's nothing resembling R-PACE. The action guide isn't making a judgment call on these red light actions. Vermont advocates may determine that there are adequate financing opportunities for businesses. And the action guide does link to those. So you might say, we're good. But it does highlight the opportunities that are available in other states across the region and places where you may have an opportunity to expand options in your state. That's how the document works for all 37 of the community actions outlined and detailed in the action guide. You can walk through the status and the considerations for each action. And even if a particular action is prohibited in your state, you can see where and how it's been accomplished. We're hoping that this combination of accurate, actionable information and inspiration for advocacy will be the tool that communities need to advance clean energy options.
Well, thank you, Kathleen, for that great overview. Acadia Center is hoping that this action guide can demonstrate how crucial it is to align community action with state-level reforms. By combining the regional context for community energy actions and the state-specific information for moving forward, the action guide will raise both awareness of which actions can be taken now and also build support for updating the rules and processes that govern the energy system. And perhaps the action guide may also spark a little friendly competition between states as community energy advocates realize that their neighbors may have a different slate of available options. Acadia Center's plans for the action guide include widespread distribution to community and state level and other stakeholders, state-specific webinars like this one to introduce users to the resource, and outreach to spark coalition work on state-level reforms that will benefit communities. So I look forward to collaborating with you all. My contact information is here on this slide, and I hope to follow up with you later. I'm going to pass it off now to Krisha to handle any questions that may have arisen during the presentation and other logistics.
Great, thanks, Ellen. And thank you to all of you who have joined us today. We don't have any questions right now in the Q&A box, but I do see that a few folks have joined us by phone. Unfortunately, we can't easily take questions from those who have called in, but should you have any questions, please feel free to get in contact with Ellen, and she can answer your questions or direct you to Kathleen or myself. The Community Energy Vision Action Guide for Vermont, New Hampshire, and the other 5 states we've covered are all available on Acadia Center's website. And this recording will be available on YouTube in the next few days as well. So please feel free to share and be in touch with us. And with that, we'll conclude. Thank you again, and we look forward to hearing from you.